Some people say things that sound so unkind, so cruel, cut you to the core. But that's not the truth about you. Even when you feel lonely, and that's the real thing to do. If you believe in love, that's our truth. Believe in love. Love is not a cliche. Love is the answer. That's what saves the day. Don't let unkind words or hurt stand in your way. Believe in love. Believe in love. Think of somebody who loves you, someone you truly love too. If you need a little help, ask them, because love will pull you through. Know what I mean? And then you can pass it on forward. Give your real self to someone who needs you. What a sweet, what a kind, loving thing to do. Let's believe in love. Love is gonna save the day. Love is the answer. Love is not a cliche. Let your own real feelings speak. Don't let pain stand in the way. If you believe in love, believe in love. If you believe in love, believe in love. If you believe in love, believe in love. Love is the answer. Love is gonna save the day. Believe in love.
Please join me in prayer. I know there is but one God, one life, and that life is my life, a gift that I am sharing right here and right now. I know that spirit moves, breathes, and has its being in everything and everyone. I know this to be true in that it is our oneness. Though we may not dress the same, act the same, look the same, it is that which we see, not with human eyes, but with vision, the clarity, the knowing. It is the glue that binds us. all together. And I realize for all of us, as we look at today's topic of vulnerability, definition, and aligning, that to be vulnerable is to be our authentic selves, to feel those feelings. We define exactly where we are in the moment. We do not disguise it. We do not deny it. We feel those feelings and we align ourselves by going within, by communing as we are here today. Whether we're here in person, we view it online at a later time. It's all energy. It's all in the moment. It's being present. It is the gift from God. And as we celebrate together here at New Dawn, I'm grateful for this space that's created and made possible by volunteers. And after service, we enjoy some goodies, some coffee, some tea, some water. And we commune together once more. I know for Reverend Jen, though she is reportedly not up to par, I know that she is well and healing because she knows the perfect health that is her gift. For my friend and fellow practitioner, Russell, may he be blessed as he shares his personality through the words of the divine this day, sharing with us, lifting us up so that we hear what we need to hear and know what we need to know. For anyone else that may be feeling pain, despair, anxiety, or fear, know this. It is merely the appearance. And by going within, knowing who you really are, who I am, who the Weezes, the collective of us, truly are, is the saving grace and the blessing that we share. I know that no matter how you are communing this day, whether you were live, seeing us later, taking a hike in nature, in our beautiful Colorado warm, clear sun today, sitting on your sofa having a cup of tea, matters not. It is the time we take, the self-care, the communing with Spirit that sustains us all. And I'm grateful to be able to say these words, knowing they have been spoken into the divine where they are pressed down and made manifest right now. And so I trust, believe, and let go because God has got this. And together we say, and so it is. So today's topics. A quote by Elizabeth Donkey, if I'm saying her name correctly. Our thoughts, life choices, and direction all honor our core values. We listen to our intuition and move through the world embodying our true selves. Alignment is function and action with ease. And from Brené Brown. We run from pain. Start feeling your feelings and learn. Reevaluate and love ourselves over making others comfortable. Understanding and feeling the edges brings grace and clarity. And from our founder, the honored Dr. Ernest Holmes. Prayer is constructive, enabling us to contact the foundation of wisdom and less likely to judge according to appearances. This communion is an invisible force and sets the law of spirit, of life, in motion for us all.
What a wonderful wonderful message in that song. And this month, we step into the discussion of the power of vulnerability, whether we're looking at circumstances in our lives or dealing with recalcitrant microphones. We look at that vulnerability. It's that courage to step into that divine expression that each of us was created to be. Each and every one of you are a masterpiece, crafted with unlimited love. And there are two things that it takes to be authentic, to be that unique expression of the divine that each of us was created to be. The first one is courage. The second one is vulnerability. We're going to spend the month of April talking about vulnerability and defining that and what it takes. A lot of people look at it as a weakness. There's this ego-based sense of self that we build over the course of a lifetime with assistance of people who only know what was passed on to them. Not out of maliciousness. It's what we call race memory in our practice that piles up. And so we forget. We forget that purity. We forget that openness that we are born with when we come as children. And if you think about a newborn baby, you look at a baby, so open. They don't have any opinions. They're just open to everyone and everything and accepting of everything. They don't necessarily have any filters either. They say things that are on their mind and they ask questions and they're not afraid to express. We learn to fear that over time. And so the courage to step into vulnerability helps us to do that. And that's where we begin. So we'll embark on this journey with the key step of defining and gaining some clarity just on what vulnerability is and why it's important. And what's critical is looking at what it is that gets in the way. It's that ego-based, false sense of self, basically, that gets in the way of our expressing who we are. How will I look? And this is especially true if you're experiencing some difficulties or we're experiencing some difficulties. It's tough to experience those at times. Mark Nepo says, "No bird can fly without opening its wings, and no one can love without exposing their hearts." Now, we've all got families, Our families, whether that's a family of origin or a family of choice, we're spirits having this human experience, and from time to time we can hurt one another. And it is not with malice or intention. It's just how we move forward, how we learn. We want to create an impression upon others, and we want to show up in a way that we think they would have us show up. But vulnerability is about stepping into that space where we are who we are, we're who we're created to be. Sometimes that infringes upon the comfort zones of people around us, especially those we're closest to. We can infringe upon one another's comfort zones, and it gets really difficult to just kind of open our wings and to be vulnerable, And a lot of people mistake being vulnerable for, we're just gonna vomit. We're just gonna throw all of these things out here and explain all of these things that are going on outside of us are creating circumstances that we dislike. If they would not have, you make me feel. We are created a choice and we're all unique. We have a divine charge. Some of us run away from that charge. It takes a little bit of time to step into that charge and ask questions and be vulnerable, to admit that we don't have all of the answers. This is very important for somebody that steps into a practice like this, like I'm doing today, step in front of a microphone. So let me tell you a little bit about how my week went. On Tuesday morning, I got to my office, I sat down at my desk. This committee of really interesting people that live between my ears, they're a little strange. They decided that they were going to catalog every single failure, every mistake that I've made. It all started with me looking at my quarterly goals. How did my quarterly goals at work go? And they decided they were going to run down the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, every mistake I made, and proceed to tell me that I'm less than and no good. And I felt this heaviness come on. Now, my first thought was, I've got some tools. I've been working on several different practices. I shouldn't feel that way. And I wanted to run from it. But I just had to stop. I had to close my laptop, and I had to get still. And I let that heaviness and depressive feeling just kind of run through me. Then I called my meditation instructor, said, this is what's happening. Then I got my journal, and I wrote these thoughts out that were taking place. Is it true? Here's what I think is true. What is true is that we are created from this loving, divine source. We are made out of God-like material. It is a power that makes things out of itself. That includes us. There's no need for quality control because everything that comes off the assembly line is perfect, whole, and complete. Now, we know that when we come down the birth canal. But somewhere along the line, we forget that. And this is what a spiritual practice is designed to help us do, is to get back to that essence, to understand that there's this power that is on our side, that is working for us. That ego center and those voices want to tell us that if we're uncomfortable, we got to control all of this stuff. We got to control what's going on. We've got to get people to do what we want them to do. We've got to change these circumstances. We've got to get this job or that job or buy this toy, or our kids have to do X, Y, or Z. By the way, that's a remedy I think that a lot of people get to experience, when they're young and they think they've got control of a lot of things. God says, wow, here, have a couple of these. Come back in 6 months after they're born and tell me how much control you have. So it's being with this, letting these feelings pass through and talking with people who remind us, oh yeah, we've got to practice, but is this stuff that you're being told true? Is it weighting you down? Why are you letting it weight you down? Well, Ernest Holmes says every one of us has in the back of us the potential of the universe. There's an irresistible potential pressing against everyone for self-expression. If we listen, we shall hear it, not as a voice, but as a feeling, as a divine urge to express. This need, this desire to be our authentic selves is that thing that is pushing up from us, and we're afraid to let it out. Because how's this going to look? What if it doesn't jibe with the way other people think things ought to be? What if it doesn't jibe with this sense of self that maybe I've been building a sense of self that I think would meet the approval of everyone around me, only to find that deep down in that spiritual center, in the intuition, deep down in the soul, that's not really who I am. Am I trying to be, say, do things that really are not in alignment with that small, still voice in the middle that's telling me which way I want to go? Is there something inside of me that's looking for a greater expression that the voices are saying, who are you to try to do that? What makes you think you can do that? How's that going to look? All of these things. It's fear. A lot of it is fear. We have love on one hand and we have fear on the other. We have a lot of names in between. But what it boils down to is that fear. And there's no greater fear than that fear of really being our true selves, for fear, what if we lose some people? And when you step into that unique expression that is you, you're going to lose some people. You're going to lose some people. They are not going to be ready to accept what you're putting on offer. It will not be because they dislike you. You will be infringing upon another person's comfort zone. But here's the real beauty of vulnerability, no matter how uncomfortable it would make you. When you are able to express and to do this, when you're able to say, you know what, I'm less than perfect. Just because I wear a stole doesn't mean I've got my act together all the time. And as some of you have heard me say, on the day I get my stuff together, I'm going to have a really big pile of stuff, and it will be way too heavy for me to carry by myself. But we're gonna press up against that comfort zone when we are able to be vulnerable, when we are able to step into that authentic self. We create safety for other people. That courage that you step up with will inspire other people to do it, or they'll turn and run like crazy in the other direction. You will get a response, there's no doubt about that. The willingness to take the risk of authentic living, although doing so may open us up to challenges along the way, leads us to the very outpicturing of the irresistible potential in each and every one of us. Irresistible. You folks are irresistible, every one of you, absolutely irresistible, because there's no other person anywhere out of 8 billion on this planet that can do the things that you can do. You've got gifts, you've got a divine spark that is unique, a unique expression of the divine. When you walk into a room like this or any other room, you're looking at what God looks like. It's no mystery what God looks like. God shows up in so many beautiful forms everywhere. This divine spark, this power is all around us. Brene Brown. Did I go too far? I think I did. I did. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. We're going to learn to face the technology. So this is Brene Brown, a lovely woman. I love her. She writes so many wonderful things. Her definition of vulnerability, she defines it as a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and to be loved. And that's the scary piece of that, putting that authentic self out. What if they don't love me? Maybe they will, maybe they will not. But we are made of love ourselves, built out of love. Love is that ultimate building block. And other folks are not always courageous enough to step into that. It's not that we're bad. Maybe we haven't been shown. Maybe we need more practice at being able, but we can step into that. To be vulnerable is to explore the depths of ourselves and others, even when we are unsure of what we may uncover. We don't know what's going to happen. Just being ourselves, who knows? Some people are going to they're going to be there with open arms. Some people are going to step back. We don't know what that's going to bring about. It is stepping out, whether literally or metaphorically, often in the face of uncertainty and fear for the purpose of fostering a fuller expression of ourselves and others. It's the fullness of this expression. Not going to be everybody's flavor. It's just not going to happen. And that's okay. Because if we were all exactly the same, how boring would that be? Got a little story here about Nelson Mandela flying a private prop plane. Had a couple of engines. They're flying along. One of the engines goes out, and so, his chief of security is there, and he notices that, hey, one of these engines is out. We're in some trouble if this other engine goes out. And, he's a big, burly guy, really tough, this security guard. And, President Mandela, he's sitting there, he's reading his paper. He says, well, we're okay, got one engine. So he's sitting there absolutely cool as the other side of the pillow, and he's reading this newspaper. When the plane lands about an hour or so later, he looks at his security seat. He said, man, I was scared as crap. So, and this is something, as a leader, and this is a lot of thing that people get tripped up on in leadership. I see it in corporate and any organization, anybody that's leading anything, the cool, calm confidence that everything would be all right was there. The fear was also there. But when we can do that, when we can lead by example and demonstrate that the courage is there, that we can take that step no matter what we face, it gives other people that confidence. Now, if he had said, as soon as that engine went out, well, I'm scared as crap, his big burly security guard might have fell into the corner, start whimpering, and you don't know, But we find that in our community, and with each of you, as you have this practice, as you model this way of life, and each and every one of you is a beacon of this philosophy and this way of life, and you model it. I see you do this. When we go out in the world, we step into a world of chaos where egomania is a disease. And standing in that principle, sometimes it's kind of scary to stand in that principle and just be in that place and model what it looks like to live in these principles when people are yelling at you, when people are afraid, when people are living in ego. We just model these principles, and we work at taking that godlike view that, hey, these folks, no matter what they say, or what they do, what they look like, what they have, they are made of love. They are masterpieces made of love that are individual expressions of that unique voice, that unique power that is on our side. That's the most important thing to remember, that power's on our side. Douglas Bloch. There is no pain quite like that of a broken heart, but a broken heart is an open heart. And when this happens, a transformation can take place in the midst of the pain. We feel the softness and the vulnerability that are truly beautiful. We become more accepting and open. Judgment and criticism are replaced by compassion for others and an acceptance of life. What if, and this is really important in a family setting, somebody comes at us, they're They're very angry, they're upset, and they say everything, they do the same thing my voices did to me. They give a complete rundown of everything you've screwed up over the last 25 years. And they're saying mean things, and the temptation is to really get defensive. What if, in that moment of rage, you look at them and say, what I love about you. And then you lay out all the reasons you love her or him. This is not you. Here's what I know. And you lay out what you love about them. What's really going on will be your follow-up question. Because I know that it's that divine expression. This is not you. What is going on? What if we trying to find a way to not just find a godlike quality, but articulate it? And not delve into the poison, but delve into how can I be loving? How can I remember that this person, like me, is a unique expression of the divine and that we're connected? And if that doesn't work, of course, we find a way to walk away. But the point is that we live in principle. It's not easy to do that because we're starting to think, everybody in the break room, they think I'm a wimp. They think I'm backing down. But we're getting to the real issue, to the core of it. So vulnerability isn't oversharing. It's not weakness. It's a conscious choice to express thoughts, feelings, and desires in a way that serves to nurture authentic life. How can we nurture folks? We don't want to step into that negativity because, separating people from how they behave is really critical. When we stop and think that, yes, each and every one of us is made out of this divine essence, this divine source, and we're connected. When I'm looking at somebody and whatever they're reflecting at me, I remember that we're mirrors of one another. We're made of divine source. Those things that displace me, make me uncomfortable, might be something within myself that I don't really want to look at right now. But it's never the disturbance because we live at the level of cause, first cause. Any disturbances are within. My response to something is a disturbance from within. So Dr. Holmes says, we resist being what we really are. We need to accept the fuller expression of the mind that is within us. For in its creative flow through us rests our entire future, the greater person that we are and the richer life we desire to enjoy. What have we given up? Maybe we resisted our true nature, Vulnerability becomes a necessary action of both self-expression and connection to others. We don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to fall into defensiveness. We don't have to close off. We can be open at the top, And it may upset some people in the short run. But what happens when you get into the practice, into the habit of standing in that true, authentic self, no matter how scary it is, and you'll always have people. I got a room full of people in here, who remind me who I am all the time. I don't have to do things by myself. I'm connected. It is Spirit that does things through me, and I understand this. I don't have to meet some kind of standard of approval because I'm made from that godlike material. I'm made from source. I'm loved unconditionally, which is separate from what I have, what I do, what I think, or how I feel. Those are things that we're separate from. We observe these things. So knowing that I've got that approval and that there's nothing that I'm going to do that's going to increase that favor. But know that that is my by divine inheritance. It belongs to other people by divine inheritance too. This is the truth of what we believe, you know. So vulnerability becomes the starting point of authenticity and connection, not only to ourselves, but to spirit and the world around us. It's a good start. It's a tough place to start. It's not easy, but the message is simple, even though it's not easy. So Ram Dass says, as we play the edge of our pain, gently opening, acknowledging, and allowing, the suffering it has caused diminishes. If we further dissolve the boundaries, letting ourselves enter into the pain and the pain enter into us, we can see the possibility of going beyond it to where the heart is freer. We've never been so vulnerable, so defenseless, and yet somehow so safe. The surrender we were so frightened of turns out to be not the defeat, but a kind of victory. So I sat at my desk and I let all those voices that told me I was less than pass through. And I got back to the truth of it. The truth of it is that I have people I can call, made some calls. The truth of it is that I pray with that cheerful expectancy, knowing the truth of my being is that I was made perfect, whole, and complete. And to step into the space where the question becomes, what's the next right thing? What would Spirit have of me? What can I do today to enhance the life of somebody else around me? It's one of the things the Buddhists say is that suffering is thinking about yourself all the time. You know, it's it's a tricky paradox because don't want to think about self all the time. On the other hand, I have to manage self. So this is the balance that this practice can give us. It's the ability to rely on this source that I call God, to rely on this source and hand my will in my life over and step up and say, what's the next right thing? What would you have of me? What is the next thing for me to do? You know, and to talk with others and be courageous in talking about what's going on. You know, I don't have to have it all together. You know, this is why we call it practice. Where Spirit's having this very human experience. And it is a remarkable journey when you step into that space and it's like you get up every day and you're in that present moment and it's like, I have no idea what's going to happen today. This is going to be pretty exciting. So Scott Ombre, in your raw, honest, vulnerable way of being, you may become a channel through which someone else feels God's touch. You may be the occasion for someone else's defining moment, and you may be the only book of wisdom someone ever reads, the only voice of truth they hear. It may be through your kind words or your touch that another person feels the embrace of the divine. How am I going to show up? How am I going to show up? This is the thing that I have to try to look at. What's the best way to show up? How do I act? What actions do I take? Stepping back into prayer, pausing when agitated or doubtful, and knowing that that source is there and works through me. We had the miracle of technology. I got to tell you, the cell phone is the best thing since sliced bread. Because there was a day I had to run down the street to the corner box, pull out some coins, actually remember the number, and call someone. You know, when I was in a little trouble, if I could find the humility to do that. We've got one another. We've got practitioners in the community. We've got one another who are living by the same principles. We've got all sorts of people. We're surrounded by unique expressions of the divine that are here to help remind us who we are and to support us in stepping into that authenticity and that vulnerability, to look at the greater good, to get that new perspective. And all healing is built on perspective. It's that knowing, that cheerful expectancy that there's a divine power at work for my highest, best good, with the same intentions for everybody else, with unconditional love, without a good housekeeping seal of approval needed. And that's a powerful thing to know. So this is where we align the purpose of our being. We're all teachers and students. We're learning from each other. We have the opportunity and the privilege to work together to support one another just by showing up. We show up. Not just on Sunday. People in this room have showed up in my life at all hours, all times. I try to make myself available all times. I keep my phone by my bed. I don't turn it off. I leave it on. To make myself available. It's making ourselves available to all the good that Spirit intends for us. And vulnerability is a part of that. So, this week, let's take a look at how often a thought comes up and we keep it to ourselves because we're afraid we're going to make somebody uncomfortable. We're afraid it's just not going to look good or sound good. We're afraid to speak up for ourselves, maybe set a boundary, because we've got an idea of how somebody else thinks we should show up. We are charged to show up in the magnificence that we were created with as unique expressions of the divine. So let's show up for ourselves and let's support one another. We can show up for each other. We can show up for ourselves. The world needs us to show up because we've got a 1 in 8 billion job to do. Join me in prayer. We give thanks that there is one perfect life. And we know that that life is God. That life belongs to each and every one of us here in this room. It belongs to everyone that hears this message around the world. It belongs to every person inhabiting this world. We are each and every one made from unconditional love. And that divine spark within each of us allows us to be open at the top. We are everything that God is. These things that take place on the outside are products of what's going on inside. And when we align our thoughts with the knowledge that we are perfect, whole, and complete, with the knowledge that we are divine, with the knowledge that we are made from this perfect substance that is God, we are able to step through anything with courage and vulnerability to be ourselves. And we allow others to be themselves. And in this way, we go out and love and serve the community of Aurora, one another here at New Dawn, the state of Colorado, and we create a world that works for everyone, everywhere, as divine expressions of the one life. I give thanks for each and every soul that is here in this message, that are out in the world being vulnerable, out in the world expressing in the unique way they were created to express. I release these words into divine law, knowing that it is acted upon by the universal mind at the intersection of right here, right now. This perfection is already done in the divine mind. I let this go, I let it be. And together we affirm And so it is.
You can hear it in the rhythm of the rain. I love the sound of the rain. In the wind, when it whispers your name. Did you ever wonder when you heard that mighty thunder? It's our hearts all beating the same. You don't have to stand up, you just have to go there with me. You ready? Stand up on your feet so you can feel your heartbeat. Anybody remember this? Stand up on your feet, listen to that sound. Stand up on your feet, you can feel your heartbeat. When you really feel and listen, God is all around. When you feel like giving up, don't give in. All you gotta do is take a deep breath and feel it way down deep within. And always remember you and I, we're all in this together. That's why, guess what? I'm gonna sing it to you again. Listen to your heartbeat. When you really feel and listen, there's God all around. Do I hear you singing out there? I know you're out on your own. Sometimes you and I, we feel really alone. But when you really hear what God has to say, all you gotta do is listen, let God show you the way. Stand up on your feet so you can feel your heartbeat. Whoa, that was bad. Stand up on your feet. Listen to the sound. Sing it. Stand up on your feet. Stand up on your feet. Listen to your heartbeat. Listen to your heartbeat. When you really feel and listen, there's God all around. All right, so here we go. Maybe the video can just end right there for a minute. Here we go. For 30 years, I taught this to kids. Every week I worked in a school. You know I did that, right? So I'm going to teach it to you. So listen, this is the first line. Stand up on your feet. Listen to your heartbeat. Your turn. Stand up on your feet. Good. Listen to your heartbeat. Perfect. Second line. Stand up on your feet. Listen to that sound. Your turn. Stand up on your feet. Listen to that sound. Some people have been at my gigs. I'm telling you, I know that, right? Third line, just like the first line. Stand up on your feet. Good. Listen to your heartbeat. Last line. When you really feel and listen, you try it. When you really feel and oh my God. There's God all around. Your turn. There's God all around. Okay, I need your help now. Stand up on your feet. Put your hands together and take me home. Here we go. Stand up on your feet. Listen to your heartbeat. Hey, stand up on your feet. Listen to that sound. I love you. Sing big. Stand up on your feet. Listen to your heartbeat. When you really feel and listen, there's God all around. Stand up on your feet. Listen to your heartbeat. Hey, stand up on your feet. Listen to that sound. Stand up on your feet. Listen to your heartbeat. When you really feel and listen, I'm going to throw a curve. When you really feel and listen, one more time. When you really feel and listen, here I go. There's joy, and there's love, and there's music. Yeah, there's joy, and there's love, and there's music. You got it. Do it again for me. There's joy, and there's love, and there's music. And God, I adore you. Do you know that? I absolutely do. God is all around. Stand up. Yay.
Hello. I'm Reverend Jen Wild, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.